the All Blacks taking on Japan, the first of 5 tests on the Northern Tour for Scott Robertson's men. Many believe this is an All Blacks team that'll give us a glimpse into the future, but what about now?
Now, here's an opportunity to open them up. Oh boy, what a strong run for the winger, and he's over. What a start, what a start. Breaks through one, gets to the line, he's over. Beautiful hands there from Tui Polotu, surging towards the line, the captain is in. Patrick Tui Polotu puts the ball back in the inside, and Sam Cane is there.
Well, it's end-to-end action, isn't it?
Go, and he's gone all the way for the try. Cam Roigard, back in business. And it's been picked up by Ruben Love, and he's going to get a double. The All Blacks into the 60s, and the All Blacks end-of-year tour starts with a win over Japan.
Tēnā koutou katoa, good evening, welcome into the breakdown. Well, a big All Blacks name won't tour the North. We will tell you more about that very, very shortly. Plus, has anyone changed the selectors' minds ahead of England at Twickenham in a week's time? And Wellington reigns supreme in the NPC after 100 minutes of rugby, as much as it pains me to say it. We will talk about that final and the competition as a whole during the show as well. Well, we've shipped Sir John Kerwin and Jeff Wilson off, so I thought I'd reintroduce my panel. It looks a little different on the breakdown tonight. We've got our regular Mills Muliaina, the most reliable guy around, whether that's on the field or off the field. We've got this guy next to me, Angus Ta'aval. He is the swaggiest, most entertaining, and the coolest guy I know. When he plays the sax, everyone else wants to play the sax, and when I say sax, I mean saxophone. And then there's Stephen Donald, Beaver, the most loved New Zealander, our national hero, but he may have to take a back seat to Mitch Satner for the not too distant future.
I thought I was the coolest guy you knew too, but okay, we'll move on.
Welcome, gentlemen. How are you?
What a welcome. I feel chuffed about that, Kirsty. I've worked with you before, but you've never told that to my face, and I've got warm fuzzies. That's all I'll say.
Oh, that's what I'm here to do. I'm just here to make you feel good. And you, Mills, you feel special today?
I'm just a regular. Just a regular.
What about the rest?
Reliable.
Yeah. The guy that we come to, whether that's on field or off field.
I'll tell you what, the view from this side looks totally different to what I'm used to. I can now see what the JK and old Jeff get up to, right? I'm steering Beaver right down the middle here, mate. So nothing from your end too much. Just
good view, mate. You happy?
You're looking pretty sharp, mate.
Thank you.
Pretty sharp.
Well, let's talk about the All Blacks test then. They've kick-started the tour north with a big win over Japan in Tokyo yesterday. Aside from the money, what was actually the point of this test match? These are the questions we've got to ask, right? Would you rather have had the All Blacks in the NPC final or play Japan yesterday, Mills?
Yeah, it's a funny one because obviously there's the obligation with the partnership that they have with Japan, but I still think, you know, when you've sent 11 other guys, you know, off early, they can possibly do this better. You know, perhaps like they did in the Super Rugby, perhaps take a Super Rugby teams over there and do it that way and showcase, you know, the All Blacks in some degree. I mean, coming off the back end of that and giving them, I suppose, a hiding. Does it really promote the game in Asia? And we've done it before. I understand that, but I think, you know, it perhaps needs to be looked at a bit further.
I think for me, I've sort of got a foot in both camps because playing NPC, I know people want to see All Blacks playing NPC and to see them in the final, you know, there's a big contingent of those players who win over Japan. But on the other side of that, like players Peter Lakai, Ruben Love, they get their chance to debut. You get to go to this country that you might never have experienced before, and it's guys to have a taste of that All Black environment, a full week of Test match footy, and get a chance to pull on that black jersey and stake their claim to play. So it's a tough one. Whether it could be just maybe delayed a week, you know, I'm not the boss, but I think what you're saying, Millsy, is can do it better. Is definitely a path to find some middle ground because both I see positives in.
Yeah, I know what Millsy said about guys leaving early. Like, maybe it's a Friday night game in Japan, so they don't have to ship people off because all of a sudden you just sort of feel, this is, it's almost cheapened because we know that there's bigger fish to fry. But, you know, as far as the NPC goes, it would have been great to have had all the big guns out. I mean, your Bay of Plenty.
Oh, let me give you some names. Sam Cane and Pasilio Tossi for Bay of Plenty. Now, Wellington would have had a massive advantage. Do you see me complaining? No. Almore, Lakai, Savir, Love and Proctor, just to name a few. Are you telling me you wouldn't want those guys in the NPC final over a 60-point drubbing?
Yeah, well, I mean, what we did see during NPC is when the All Blacks were involved, the quality went up, and some of the, you know, the influential players played a big part in some of those wins. But you're right. I suppose when you look at it from that, I look at it from the Japanese point of view. You want the best players playing. You want to actually be competitive. And one way to get competitiveness is perhaps doing it earlier in the season where Super Rugby teams are playing against your Japanese clubs to try and grow the game that way. And we've seen it. The Chiefs, they lost the game over there when they went over there, rather than this. What it did illustrate from an All Black point of view is how rusty you can actually be. And so I think there is some positives here from the All Blacks. They'll go over, the guys that have gone over, they'll know. They haven't played for 6 weeks. Majority of those guys haven't played for 6 weeks.
Well, does that not concern you even more then? If they were rusty last night and majority of these players won't actually play next week, what does it say about the 11 that are sitting in London already?
I think it will illustrate that even more so. When you're in a team environment, right? It's not necessarily until you see something you think, oh, far out, it's floating there, we could be rusty. Yesterday, they did definitely show that, and so they'll be highlighted in their review.
I think the thing for me, we talk about the 11 that have gone, they've played a lot of test match footy. They're weathered, they're experienced, they sort of know how a test match goes, whereas I think what it's shown in this past week is guys who have been in the environment, who haven't played as much rugby, haven't been released to play NPC, it's like, well, we're rusty because we haven't played for longer than just that break. We've been in the environment, but we've, like me and Beav have done a bit, we've held pads at training rather than being a game time situation. So that's why I think it was good for them to get a chance to play. I wouldn't be too worried about the 11 that have already gone. These guys have played tests. They've got, you look at the 3 Barrett brothers, they've got 300 and something tests between them, So I'm not too worried about those guys that are gone. I'm more happy to see those guys get an opportunity on the world stage.
Hold on, did Millsy never hold tackle bags?
Never saw it.
You never saw it. Are you joking?
Hey,
when he was sitting out, he just went and got a drink and sat on the sideline.
I tackled. I didn't hold. I had to tackle. I didn't have hit shields to hold.
Okay, well, from what I'm hearing, what you're saying is the decision to split the squad, that's okay.
I mean, we might be a bit split here, like the squad being split. I've sort of got a feeling of...
You're happy because you saw some debuts and other guys got opportunities.
And it's not the first time that's happened, Obviously, we talk about bigger fish to fry. I sort of lean on the fact we're cool, let's give some guys a chance.
But don't you think it would be a better spectacle just to play those 3 top teams? I'm talking about England, Ireland and France, Beav. Why do you need the 2 on the other sides?
Well, the reality is, when you look at this year's schedule, there hasn't been many, should we say, easy test matches. And if we're running a squad of 36, when are you going to throw the others out? When are me and Gus going to get our caps? So
Yep.
you've got to have those games to be able to see Ruben Love get a chance. Proctor, he would have played about 2 games since Super Rugby finished had we not had the Japanese test. So there's an aspect of that, and obviously a bit of yen along the way.
So what you're saying is the 36-man squad's actually just too big?
I mean, that's another...
Is that what they were rolling when you were playing? Were they rolling 36-man squads that were split?
I wish, because I might have got picked more often. No, we were about 26, I think.
Well, I also think the results during the year has probably played a big part into this. Like, I think Razor and co would have wanted to get, had they won, they didn't lose the Argentinian game, had they won probably one of the South African tests, they probably would have sort of, enabled them to go, hey, let's probably give some guys a run through the Wallabies, right? You can't grow experience. You can't grow those new guys coming in unless you have a Japanese sort of a Japanese game for guys to, one, Ruben Love's been in the environment for so long, and he now gets an opportunity to go out there, Peter Larkway, to actually grow some of those guys. The downside for me is the fact I'm a bit concerned. I mean, I know those guys have played, 3,000 tests between them, but you can't get that intensity just by holding hit shields, in 5 weeks. You've got to come to that level straight away. Like you take an English side that started the way they came down in Dunedin, and if you're not on top of your game at Twickenham, those are opportunities that they can actually try and push away from you. Like the Japanese did yesterday. They started early. The English won't let off. They'll keep going.
Hold on. So there's concern in your voice now, Mills, and you've been the guy all year that has said the All Blacks will win these test matches in the North.
I still believe they will win. I think, to my earlier point, I think yesterday would show the All Black camp, hey, you've got to focus on the intensity. You're not going to get that, and they may have fluffed around a bit and may have mentioned it in their lead up or their build up. Now I reckon it becomes a priority because you've got to get to that level nice and early, especially against an English side that came here and possibly could have beaten us in one of those 2 testers.
Okay, well, more about this and exactly who will play against England. But first, the breakdown is going international. We were going to have people on the ground during the end of your tour, and Tokyo was no different.
Welcome to the Breakdown Japan, everybody. Thank you for joining us, Scott. Tell me your assessment of today.
Really pleasing. We had a performance we can build off. At times, our support play, the ability to keep the ball alive, some really good defence sets also. We were challenged. We had to adjust during it, and there was moments there that took a lot of composure. The boys did that well. Pleasing around the leadership also, really happy for Paddy today, leading the All Blacks and leading really well.
And the two young debutants looked like they were pretty relaxed, to be fair. You know, we spoke to both Peter and Rupert afterwards, and they were so relaxed. Yeah,
I think that a lot of that comes from the leadership, the group that was around them, and helped set them up. John, so two young men that have worked really hard behind the scenes for a long time, have done really well through their franchises, and then to see them both out here today playing in the All Black jersey is a great moment for them and their families. So, and again, credit to them, but also the group for taking care of them and setting them up through the week.
You've decided to send the players north, so I can say this, you can't say this, they're probably going to be starting against England. But the guys that played today, like Paddy, really putting pressure on to at least get on the bench or even start.
It was a test match. Go and perform, be at your best, and that's what we asked of them today. So a lot of guys put their hand up around, well, it was an All Black performance that puts me in the spotlight around being selected. So, and that's what it's got to be. It's got to be a group that's challenging and competing for selections. It's going to bring the best out of the group. You look at some individuals today, example, Billy Proctor, the work on and off the ball. Anton Leonard-Brown's been outstanding all year for us. So those guys and many others have put their hand up and continue to.
Was that the first time you threw a lot of reserves? I think you put 5 on at a time. Was that the first time you've done that? And to be fair, the second half was probably quieter than the first half. Yeah. Are they learnings for you? Do you think it matters?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I must admit, sitting in the stand when the boys went out was a familiar look we've seen around the world when they went out.
To our South African viewers.
But it shouldn't matter. Whether you go on as an individual or 2, 3, 4, 5, you're going on to a test match. You just be ready and perform well. Yes, the tempo, and we dropped off around probably the accuracy in our game, to be fair. Some discipline around our defence. We turned some ball over and kicked back to them. So there's some learnings there for sure. There always is. But I don't believe we look at the 3, 4, 5 that go on at the same time and say it's that moment. I just think we need to be better.
Looking forward, one of the hardest Northern tours for a long time, incredibly exciting.
It is.
So do you plan too far ahead? I mean, do you sort of have an idea, okay, we can play this guy, rest this guy? I mean, you've got a quick turnaround between England and Ireland. Then you've got France, incredibly different team. Do you plan forward, or can't you really? You just got to take each game as it comes.
Oh, you take each game as it comes, but there must be a process. So you work towards what that can look like each week. The fact is, it's a very tough 3 weeks, very challenging. We're excited for it. It's a massive opportunity for us to see where we're at as a group, and we'll learn from it. There is planning in behind what that may look like, but it's the adjustment, as you well know, that we'll need to facilitate each week. The first focus will always be where the next test is, and that's England.
And you're new to this setup, first year. How are you coping with the nerves? Are you getting better at it? Do you get nervous? Are you anxious before the game? Is it affecting you? How are you going?
No, I'm a big fan of preparation. I'm a big fan of preparation, so that's how it helps me get through my week. And to be fair, John, on the weekend I'm pretty calm. It's about the players. It's our job to set them up, prepare them well, and then they go about their work. And what we saw today was a leadership group, and a young leadership group grab this team and do a really good job.
Your biggest learning as a coach at this level?
I love consistency. So working and building towards that. You have your highs and a low during a test. I'm familiar with the test environment, but with the All Blacks, there's a certain, and there should be, expectation on the All Blacks, and we're excited for that. But there's consistency in our preparation, what that looks like each week, and as a young coach, I continue to grow my ability to help the group.
Been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
Well, I tell you what, the All Blacks preparation have already taken a hit. We knew there were 3 injuries to 3 loose forwards. Well, I tell you this, here is an exclusive on the breakdown. Luke Jacobson with that fractured thumb will not tour the North, so he has been ruled out of taking any part in the rest of the year. Ethan Blackadder and Dalton Papali'i are progressing well. They are hopeful that one of them will be available at the moment. Peter Lakai will be staying with the All Blacks instead of dropping back down to the All Blacks 15, and Christian Leo Willie will also remain with the All Blacks. Your reaction to that news, Beav, and the loss of Luke Jacobson?
Yeah, I think it's a big loss for Luke Jacobson and the All Blacks. I still see him potentially as an option to replace Sammy Cane when Sammy moves on to Japan, and I thought there might have been an opportunity to see that unfold, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, where I reckon his style of rugby in the 7 jersey could have been an asset.
Well, let's talk about the loosies then. You've got question marks right now at lock and loose forwards. Who over?
It's going to be tough for this game because obviously Big Paddy Tuipulotu stepped up, skippered. His physical presence, what he does coming off his injury, got a couple of games with us with Auckland.
Do you start him?
Well, that's the question mark because Tupou Vaa'i, Scooter Barrett, these guys have been setting the scene this whole year. And I remember early in the year, Goldie was talking about maybe moving Scooter to 6, but I think knowing Scooter, he likes to be that leader in the heart of that team. He's the man of this team as captain, and I think having him there would be locked in, and it's whether they go with a Paddy, what he does with his carries, his physicality. I've had him behind me in the scrum. He works hard in those areas as well. But then you balance with, I think I was in here a few weeks ago talking up Tupou Vaa'i feeling like a proud dad. So I mean, it's a really good thing to have, but it's going to be a tough call, and I wouldn't really know who to pick. We'll see, I suppose, in a few days.
Did Paddy do enough against Japan, do you think, to force his way into the 15?
Look, Paddy's got plenty of experience here. I'd like to see him come off the bench. I think we're starting to really establish those, Tupou Vaa'i's really starting to grow in his role. Barrett also is a captain. The combination is really starting to blossom. And then you've got Paddy that could either start or play a big role coming off the bench. The big thing that it opens up now is for Samipeni Final and sort of role he kind of plays, particularly off the bench. Because if you look at it, Peter Lakai, fairly young, first test, and then obviously we're pretty inexperienced in that department. What role is now open for a guy like Samipeni Final? We've seen glimpses yesterday of what he can do, particularly without the ball. They constantly talk about both sides of the ball. We know he can get out in the open. We know, look how wide that step is right there. But also, when you go into the North and you're playing these big physical guys, you've seen it. You've got to be able to match them and actually try and dominate them as well. And he's starting to provide that. Yeah,
I think he's your obvious one now for the bench. Samipeni, obviously, the loose forward show will be what we all presume has been the loose forward show. And Samipeni now, just the sitter, I'd have thought, for coming off the bench and with Paddy there probably coming on, as there's been so much hype and hoopla about this bomb squad that we're not having. Suddenly, if you put those two and a Moore on the bench, there's a bit of firepower to come.
What do you do with Wallace Atiti? He's obviously there and starting. Does he start in the number 8 jersey, and do you just make the call right now, move Ardie Savea to 7?
For me right now, no, because that would mean you've suddenly slipped your Bay of Plenty favourite into the sunset, and that's just not happening yet for me. Sammy Cane will be there at 7. And Gus will know more about this, but the 8 and 6 role, as far as carrying, can be manipulated. That's the same thing. Like Wallace Atiti's carry is unbelievable. I mean, defensively, obviously, it changes as far as your roles getting around the corner. But I think what you saw yesterday, he was carrying off the lineouts, but he was also doing that at 6 too.
I think just seeing what he's been able to, he's answered so many questions that people have asked since he's been selected, and he's earned himself a starting, whether that's 8 or 6, he's earned a spot in the starting 15 for the All Blacks. And we've talked about what England's going to bring, but the carry, what he does is his footwork is so great, but it's not just that, it's the balance, it's the power, it's being able to take the second step, shake off the first defender, and the speed. I mean, I'd love to see his splits, Beav. I mean, I don't get over 10 seconds, 10 metres a second, but I'd say he's clocking up pretty up there for a number 8/6, who knows?
Honestly, it is amazing that he is nearly the best player on the field every single week, no matter who the opposition is. What about at halfback? Because Cam Roigard obviously returned to the international arena yesterday. Is he in the mix against England, Beav, or does his comeback actually just need to wait a while? He just needs game time.
I think first and foremost, great that he got away unscathed. You know, he's got to, man, it's a big injury that he's gotten over, and the way he's transitioned from NPC through to yesterday. I don't know whether they would sort of push him to start against England. I think, even, possibly off the bench. But you've got, TJ and also Cortez, that have done the job right now. So I think I'm just relieved that he sort of got through the game, Beav. We know, what he can produce. It's whether they perhaps push him for coming off the bench initially against the English. Yeah,
one way or the other, I think TJ's got to be involved. Like, I just saw what happened in that Aussie test when it was all starting to unravel. His experience out there, like, it is going to be something else at Twickenham come this week, and I think if it's Cortez starts or Cam starts, but to be fair, I think Cortez has earned the right to probably go again after his performances at the back end of that Rugby Championship.
Well, I'm going to stick with a position that you know very well then. Damian McKenzie, what is his most effective position, Beav, at the international level?
I thought you were looking at Gus. Geez, well, here we go.
At international, we know that the guy is phenomenal at Super Rugby, and we all love him. But what about at international? Is it 10? Is it 15?
Well, I mean, the chopping and changing won't help, but I think when you look around the country, he is day and night our best 10 at Super Rugby. Obviously, Bodie's back now, so we've got 2. For me, it's just a matter of him getting the control in his game. Like, you can't just say, go out and be your maverick, but then also we need you to do this and that. A lot of the times where he's getting himself in a bit of trouble at the moment is he's doing all this great work, and then we saw it yesterday, just the odd loose pass or the odd one out the back, obviously the one against the Wallabies, for example, that sticks in everyone's mind. So there's an aspect of control, I think, that is just holding him back, or I guess just making people's opinions sort of think he's not cut out to be a 10. He has the skill set. Like, he has got every skill going. He's got the quickest hands I've seen, the quickest hands to foot I've seen. He has got the skill set. It's just a matter of those other bits and pieces around his game as far as the control aspect.
I like that point, because you kind of almost sense that with Damien, the fact that the comfort of being in control, and it almost seems like he's trying to push that ball on so he can still stay and be the playmaker without sort of having the confidence to go, this is my role. My role is to be able to control the game, but I can also get tackled and let other guys sort of step up into the role. And I think that's probably where he's pushing that pass, thinking, I've got the ball in hand, I've had a little wee crack, there's an opportunity there, I've got to get rid of the ball because I've got to get up and organise again. When you start to get comfortable with the guys outside you, and also the actual playmaker role in the All Blacks, that ease will come, and I sense that's probably what he's trying to push, Beav, the fact that I've got to, the pressure of being able to control this team, I've got to be the guy in first receiver, I've got to be able to call the calls. But once he gets that, I suppose, comfort of understanding, hey, let's just give a bit of responsibility to someone else, then he'll start to blossom, and it's not far away.
No, I mean, you just saw the clips then. If he'd gone to ground and placed the ball back and we'd gone quickly again, then we're well and truly on the front foot and Japan won't recover. So I think there's just the balancing act of there. And, I think at the start, Gus, I think all the players were getting used to the new coaching regime, and as the 10, he's the one that's got to sort of dilute what's coming over here and then put it out into the park with the boys at the same time. And it looked very foreign at the start of the season, and he's been the one that's been entrusted to get them through that period.
Yeah, there's probably like 2 points that you brought up, Beav, is the skill set. He's got all the tools in the box to nail this 10 role at an international level. And 2 is chop and changing is probably not going to... It's not going to help, And I look back to probably a Richie Mo'unga, who, when he was given the 10 jersey, it wasn't all smooth sailing. It wasn't the best 10 in the world every single week. But after, backing him, getting that role against the best teams in the world back to back to back, he built into a world-class 10 consistently. And knowing D-Mac, he's a humble guy. He works hard, but he's got the skills to do it. And you could see the frustration in his face when he was doing those little things. And I don't think they're big changes, and he's got the people around him to really help him. It's whether they're patient enough to do that.
So, will the All Blacks coach back him against England or Beauden Barrett? It's one of the two, isn't it? What do you think they'll actually do?
What I think they will do?
Well, we know what you'll do. You'll leave Damian McKenzie there, of course.
Yeah, I'd make him captain. No, I think...
And Prime Minister.
Yeah, possibly. No, his finances are poor. No, what I look at, with who's flowing over, I think it's clear and obvious that it's going to be Bodie, unless there is doubt over who the right winger is, and then it's Will Jordan and Bodie 15. But from what I've seen, I think it'll be Bodie.
And we could go into a whole other conversation about Will Jordan, what his most effective position as well. But Bev, you've actually been going through some footage of the England series in New Zealand during July. 2-0 favours the All Blacks when you look at it, but actually they could have easily won one or both of those test matches. So what will be the defining things for the All Blacks as they head to Twickenham?
Yeah, I think just going to Twickenham, knowing that it's going to be a bit slower, probably a bit more confrontational, we've just got to make sure we don't feed what I think England's tactics were. And when they came down at the start of the year, they did a lot of box kicking and caught us in the tram lines, and then they bought their line speed. And we, from that, decided to play a lot off 10. And you can see here, we go through Damien, through the forwards, through Damien. That's 3 pairs of hands as we're trying to get out there. And all you're doing is when you're on the side of the field like the All Blacks are here, they've got their entire defensive line able to bring all that line speed and cut you off in the middle of the park, and we weren't able to get the game going, and it was really obvious when you were live to see that line speed. But it's easy to bring line speed when you're from the side of the park, where I think going forward in Twickenham this week, we've got to play off 9, and what that does is, yeah, they might come and meet you 1 or 2 times, but then Gus will tell you, you don't want to go up, back, because that becomes relentless, and all of a sudden you don't have the line speed. You aren't set, and if we can make those rucks quick and clean, then they're not going to be able to recover, and then we're going to be able to play, as opposed to feeding the line speed, Gus, which I thought we did a lot by playing off 10 in those first couple of weeks.
Yeah, and that's probably where I lean Cam Roigard, just seeing the delivery of his passes and his ability to attack off that 9 role, which all players can do, but getting away from that 5-metre channel, you could see that white line licking their lips. It's a clear and obvious picture. There's no need to stay off in a bit of a drift D. It's line speed getting up and in your face. So what you've said, Beav, is getting to the right parts, probably around the 10, 15 metre mark, getting the 9, and you're feeding guys like Wallace who can make a little line break on the back foot. You can't do line speed when you're retreating.
So keys to success, step 1, play more from 9 rather than 10, and be kicking game.
Yeah, it was another thing that was, I thought, really noticeable. I was lucky enough to be at the Eden Park game, and you can see here, we were very deliberate with our box kicks. And what that does is, yeah, it gives us our line organised, but what it does is it tells England that you can start dropping guys back. And you can see the top of your screen. They know that there's no running threat here. We've already getting guys back in the backfield. Marcus Smith's already going back. So this allows them to be safe under the catch, but also it sets them up for their next play. So what England were doing from there is essentially taking a ruck, getting their team organised, and then box kicking back to us. And then we got caught in those periods of play where it's just box kick to box kick, where I think if we have a little bit more adventure, we shift the ball a bit wider, and then like we've got Geordie Barrett there for a reason in the midfield. He's got a kicking game. We've got Bowden Barrett, we've got Will Jordan in the outside channels. Caleb's got a left foot. You kick in the outside channels, you get down to one guy. I mean, I'd put my house on it that an English guy by himself will kick back to us. And then what does that do? That feeds our greatest strength, which is broken play, counter-attack, to the Will Jordans, the Damien McKenzies.
And the other side of it as well, I mean, you mentioned the fact that the momentum's now on the English side. You know, now they're already set up, and a lot of talk was around England kicking it back to them. You've just shown it. They've now got 3 guys back there to help counter-attack, you know, and if the kicks are too long, you know, guys are sort of running onto it, but all of a sudden you've taken that pressure off yourself, like for a few seconds, only to be applied back on you with a counter-attacking opportunity from England. So, great points.
Brilliant. 3 keys to success. Play off 9, be more adventurous with the All Blacks kicking game, and unleash these world-class players that we have in our arsenal. Good from you, Beef.
Thanks, Kirst.
Good day's work.
I'll sit back now. Good to be here.
You've done your work for the day. Plenty more still to come on the breakdown. Looking forward to Millsy's analysis coming up next. We talk the NPC and Wellington after 100 minutes of rugby.
Should we roll through this tunnel of people?
And Jackson Garden Bash it. Nice touch. For his 100th game, comes out with wife Rosie and the 3 kids, Milo, Alu and Machu.
Snap it deep, snap it deep. Run, catch, run! Run, catch, run! Stay Lord! Lord! Hold your feet! Hold feet!
Working sideline, Preston gets it away on the left, and the try is scored by Julian Savia, the opening try of the final.
Yo! Yo! Watch our next moment. Watch our next moment. I'll get lost in the game here. We just got to comms that we're busting 9 if you're going to keep it in. Am I on it here? Big D set now. Come off my hip.
Clark just going away from Clark. Now he dropped a nice pass off. Here's Xavier in some space. Still going that big fellow. And he scores a double in the final.
Remember, that bird space doesn't have to be a try-scoring bird. All right, every time we put them under pressure with our chase man, you boys are being dogs. Go, boys, come on the forwards. Come on, Seth! Come on, Seth! Go around, Lenny! Moments, boy! Moments! Good patience, bro. Big scrum. Give us a scrum. Oi, are you holding it in? Okay. Let me have a nudge, bro. Shot call. Oh! Back to 0-0, so we're not chasing anything. Nail our game like we have all year. Moments, moments, moments. Unreal, boys. That's ticker, man. Well done, man. You're a champ, man. You're a champ, bro. Oh, I love you so much. I'm so glad you came here. Cheers, Musket. Thank you, brother. Trusky, good game, bro. Cheers, mate. Thanks for that. We won the game! Here comes the big trophy. That's a Lionsman! We're here to stay! Lionsman, we're here to stay! When we get there, we stick out of the day! Wally-oo! 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 Daddy! Hey!
Oh, I love those insights, the mic'd up plays that we've been doing all year. Just want to say a quick shout out to Broadtech for allowing us to do that with their incredible technology, to all the players and to the teams that have allowed us to do it throughout the competition. It really adds something for the fans. Just in reaction to that, I haven't seen that sort of fizz level and energy from a player since you, Gus.
Yeah, we didn't have much to fizz about with the Auckland team this year. We didn't make the playoffs, but yeah, there's a few fizzlers in that team. Obviously, JGB, Jackson Gunner Bishop, is a big part of that. Duplessis Karifi likes to let off a few chair-hoos in the game and a big energy leader in that space. So it is, some people call them hot dogs, but some people just call them energizer bunnies.
You call them hot dogs?
No, I'm just saying some people, mate. Hot dogs just like, they let you know they're there. Kirst, I'll leave it at that.
So what would you have been like if you're mic'd up?
I thought he was very polite, asking the number 8 if he was keeping it in. I've been telling him, we're taking this. But no, great to see. And but hot dogs, it's not a good term to be known as a hot dog.
So you want to be the Energizer Bunny, not the hot dog. Let's talk about Jackson Garden Bishop then. 100th game for Wellington, the first time it's been done since Tana Umanga. All of those years ago, happened to be in a final, the season that was never meant to be, Mills. Rate Wellington's performance and that final.
Oh, that was amazing because they went 100 minutes. I mean, probably not the ideal sort of spectacle that everyone probably would have wanted. The weather played a big part in that, but the fact it got down to 100 minutes and his influence in the game as well, coming back from an injury where he ripped a hamstring and also the fact he wasn't even supposed to come back and play. So wonderful moment for Wellington, and I suppose you've got a feel for your Bay of Plenty as well because they were right in it.
Oh, they had a wonderful season. They had the most incredible season, Bay of Plenty, if we're being honest, didn't they? And to be fair, it was a fitting final. They went to extra time during the season and extra time in the final. Is that the best way to decide a final, though, when you've been playing 80 gruelling minutes and then you've got to go again for 2 10-minute halves and you're absolutely buggered?
I love the drama of it. I'd have been disappointed if we decided on that try count back that they were about to. But no, just on Millsy, yeah, the rain affected it, but I just thought the skill level and quality of rugby that was put out there, considering the conditions, was quite brilliant.
I think to take away the try, let's just have a penalty shootout if it goes that deep, But like you said, there was a lot of low numbers playing big minutes, Beav. I think the props went 90 plus, locks were going 90 plus, and some of those phase counts in that weather were tremendous. The physicality, I thought it was, it's probably not the big flashy 40-point fiasco we've been seeing, but for a final, extra time, it had a bit of everything.
Bay of Plenty were the surprise package in 2024. Is this it? Was that their best chance to win a title in 48 years, Mills, or do you think that they can be equally as good next year?
Oh, I think they can. I think they've got a good coaching staff. Richard Watt's there. He's obviously implementing a lot. I think their culture is pretty good too, especially with Eklund and Arkoi. They've been huge influences in terms of that. But also they've got a young group coming through. So yeah, they'll be hurting. But it's important that they sort of, I suppose, go back and they had a style of play that was really effective, and I mean the backing that they got, especially in Tauranga Domain, was fantastic. Yeah,
absolutely, couldn't agree more. I mean, you played against them with Auckland, Gussie, but if we talk about the NPC season as a whole, 2024, was it a success? What does a successful season look like for a competition, and do you think this year it was?
It's up for a debate at the moment, isn't it? Like whether it should stay. Is it going to stay? I think it was, and I do think there are better ways to do it. Obviously with Auckland, not a successful season, but if I just break it down, we play at Eden Park, which is, I love playing at Eden Park. It's the home of rugby in New Zealand. We played the final with the Blues and it was sold out, amazing, but it doesn't quite have that effect when you've got, I don't even want to, maybe not even past 1,000 people sitting in a 50,000 stand stadium, and we had our last game at Auckland Grammar, and it felt more intimate. My wife brought our daughter Georgie along, said it was set up beautifully. Like there was a bouncy castle. It was a sort of reminded me of AFC actually. I went to their first game, and trying to make it not just on rugby. You can bring your family. It's comfortable. There's bouncy castle. There's hot dogs and all that sort of thing. So there are ways that I think it can be done better. But what I really appreciate about NPC is the clear pathway it gives New Zealand rugby in terms of a professional sense. So I spent a bit of time in Australia, and I played it in the NRC, which is above club level, was their version of NPC, but it was still semi-professional. So you'd have builders 9 to 5 coming to training Tuesday, Thursday night. And with this NPC, it gives players the chance who haven't had that opportunity to be a full-time professional rugby player. Put the tools down, focus on being better, focus on my skill work, focus on my gym work, not finishing a shift doing concreting for 8 hours with my back broken to bits, and then I've got to go do scrums, So I just feel it is so important for the performance of New Zealand rugby and that player pathway, but I still think it can be done better.
Does New Zealand need the NPC beef?
Oh, I think it should be our number one. I loved it this year as a fan, I guess. I think I saw something during the week, it was up viewership numbers and ratings as far as at the grounds. So we saw little, obviously, games and weekends where the All Blacks got thrown in there, and all of a sudden, just the hype around it all. But the thing that, I guess, impressed me about this year's NPC is quite often in the past you've seen games where the skill level has been poor, and there's been some real tough watches, but be it the coaching as far as the endeavour to actually play with some enterprise. But at the start of the year we were talking, like, watching Hawke's Bay was a treat. They were playing with the ball, obviously Bay of Plenty all year, sometimes Gus's Auckland, sometimes. Sometimes. But there were all these teams and they were playing with a lot of adventure. I think about the improvement in Southland, Millsy, where, they were getting great crowds again and they were competitive. I think they won 2 or 3 games, and that might not seem much, but where they've come from, and they're in the fight every week. So I would be, I just feel that there's something there as far as that NPC goes.
So it ain't going nowhere, not on Beavers watch.
Well, I think what we all agree on is it isn't fit for purpose. The fact that you've got a competition that's right after Super Rugby, and you're sitting in stadiums where there's 5,000, 3,000 people, but it looks totally empty. You go to Tauranga Domain, you're getting exactly the same amount of people, but it looks chocker, right? And so the development are coming. If you strip away the emotion, they've got to come up with a structure that's respectful of the NPC. Whether that's bringing in Australia, I believe it's probably even got something to do with Super Rugby. Changing the format of Super Rugby, where you've got the NRL that's sitting right in front of you. Look at that format and how they produce the teams underneath them. I sort of get the feeling that we need to team up with Australia in some way and grow, Australia and New Zealand, the national competition. Whether it's
not Super Rugby.
Well, I think it's probably a bigger topic, but probably scrapping the whole Super Rugby sort of format. You had Ali Williams sitting here a couple of weeks ago, And he's a part owner of a you know, yes, okay, all right, they've got a bit of money to sort of back it, but his message was a bit of fun, get the kids along, grow the game here. You got the NRL that's got 24 weeks of games, you come down to the 8, and man, it's massive. You don't know who's going to win, and the salary cap and how it sort of works. Can we have a feeder sort of grade underneath it where we say, hey, look, whether you're from New Zealand or whether you're from Australia, you can play for anyone, right? You go over there and really grow, you know, the Anzac side of it, both in Super Rugby. It just needs a different structure. I mean, they're bleeding. I mean, Wellington at the moment, to host finals, they've lost money. I mean, where has that happened ever in a competition where you make it to the final but you don't actually want to host it because you're going to lose money? I mean, they've got to come up with a way that it is really fit for purpose and enhancing it, because there's no doubt the competition, the players that are coming through, there's definitely a need for that to keep growing. We just haven't got the structure right.
I think I'll jump on the back of talking about the Aussies. You look at Tane Edmed. He's been caught up into that Wallaby spot. If it wasn't for NPC, he wouldn't be doing anything. And we had a couple of Aussie boys in as well, and they absolutely loved it. But I suppose it's not all doom and gloom. I think the grassroots is an important. We need to nurture it. You know, we need to water it, make sure it's coming through. And Auckland Rugby posted a post where it's not all doom and gloom. Female numbers have come up, junior club numbers are up, ref numbers have grown in Auckland. So I think we need to have something that you can look up to and get to, you know, and keep inspiring that next generation.
So what happened with Auckland NPC then, Gus, if the numbers below are so strong?
Tell us.
You want to
what happened?
All right, I'm going to tell you the biggest secret right now after this break. No, it was a marriage of a lot of things. We'll leave it at that. It was Wellington, Bob, what a final.
Yeah, absolutely, what a final.
Auckland will be back though, I'll tell you that much.
I love how you avoided that right now. Someone who was part of our commentary crew yesterday, Taylor Johnson, was on the sideline, but in a couple of weeks she'll be on the footpath, the sidewalk in America, running the New York Marathon. I know, crazy, 42 kilometres, but it's for a good cause.
I've decided to run the marathon to raise funds for Cure Kids. They've done a lot for me, and they're doing a lot for our tamariki as well, raising funds towards research to help little lives. So I'm an ambassador for them, so it's an awesome initiative, a good cause that I can, I guess, help out with. And it's a good challenge for me as well, having 3 heart surgeries and being able to, I had to learn how to walk again, and then now running 42 kilometres, it's a cool challenge for myself as well.
Whenever you're in a dark place training, you always think, you know, this is nothing compared to families who are watching their kids on life support because they had rheumatic heart disease, or families who are going through cancer struggles, or, you know, all these different congenital heart defects in children and stuff. It's nothing, and so that actually motivates you when you're running to not complain, because you're like, actually, I've got it good, I can even run. And so I think that's a save for you, right? It's really cool seeing Matt get to where he is now as well. A lot of families think that having open heart surgery is like a life sentence and you can't do much after it. And I hate it because he's still fitter than me, even with all his heart problems.
It'll feel like another accomplishment in my life after every health issue that I've overcome. I guess it'll just be like returning to a rugby field, but in a sense even better. Doing it for a good cause. Being in the position that I was in, and then obviously running 42 Ks, it's crazy to think about it, but it's going towards a good cause, and obviously thinking about my son as well, and doing it with my wife. It's going to be an awesome occasion, and it'll be special.
It is so crazy what some people go through. Taylor and Maddie are trying to raise $10,000 for the wonderful people at Cure Kids. You can make an instant $3 donation by texting Johnson to 305. They are almost at that target, so help them get there. It's pretty special, isn't it? Special story.
I tried to go for a 5K run the other day and I almost died. So to go for 42 and obviously to back it up for a special cause. I do need a shout out to Jackson and Izzy Willison. Their daughter was diagnosed with leukemia, and they had a massive fundraiser, awesome night, $285,000 raised for the Starship Oncology Award. So there's people out there doing special things for special places. I've spent a lot of time in hospital with my son, and the people in there have been nothing but amazing. So shout out to Taylor and Maddie and all the people out there doing good stuff.
There you go. Well, do not go anywhere. Plenty more to come on The Breakdown. You know those tour tales? Well, they are back. Bowden Barrett is here next.
One of the things we look forward to doing on tour during our day off is playing a game of golf. So the one game we've got planned at this stage is a rematch at Wentworth. Kevin Peterson, former cricketer, and I are taking on Geordie and Will Jordan. So last time we played, we got one up, so they're pretty keen to have another crack.
Welcome back to The Breakdown. So days off in London for the All Blacks involve golf. When did golf become cool for rugby players, Gussie?
Don't ask me because I don't have the thoracic mobility to do that. But it's grown massively. Like I remember a few years ago, the golf crew was probably a handful, and now it's 17 to 20 players. When you got guys like Bodie Barrett organising where you're playing, it's pretty exclusive stuff. I mean, offers buying clubs every second week, you know, so it's not your can of hold down the Chamberlain.
$10 golf or something like that. I'm sure you would have loved to have been a part of the golf crew, Beef, but your days off were a little bit different during All Black tours.
Yeah, love to have played golf, but I was just battling to stay in there. So I was off with Mick to do about an hour's worth of kicking down the road at a local park. So, no, those would have been the days.
So while you're holding the tackle bags at training, what are those weeks actually like against England, the old nemesis at the home of rugby in Twickenham Mills?
The home of rugby, exactly. And that was motivation in itself to be able to go to Twickenham's. It's amazing. The build-up would obviously be based in town, but going to Twickenham and you're pulling into the bus, and the bus there's a corridor of people. It seemed like a K long, right through to when you get to the stadium, and then you look up at the stadium and the floors to get up. There's about 4 or 5 floors, and people are just sort of there, sort of making noise. It's a wonderful experience, and when you get in there, you know, the noise and the atmosphere, but coming away after winning as well, one of the best feelings. And when you get to soak in those old traditional baths, not the spa pools.
What are the old baths?
They're just old baths. They're just like
they literally have baths in there that you all share.
All lined up beside each other, and one's obviously full of Steinlagers, and the other Powerade, and then the rest are bodies. Fantastic place.
So a special place to play, Beef?
Yeah, I mean, I used to get about 1 or 2 minutes at the end.
But you were there.
I was there.
You're still there and a part of the occasion.
It was great. But yeah, like as
give yourself some more credit.
The walk-in, I don't know what they're called, but the gate with the lines on it, you'd know the name, I'm sure, Millsy.
No, I don't.
But that was pretty special. And they just make such a day of it. Like, by the time the bus is there, I know Kiwis roar in for about 5 minutes before kick-off, but like the 80,000 will be there by the time the bus shows up, so it's pretty special.
Have you had one of these baths, Gussie?
No, they must have updated the change room by these old dinosaurs by the time. I played bar bars versus Australia at Twickenham, and I was called in that week when the All Blacks played England in 2018. So I don't play that test, but just to go in there and like you said, you go there's pints being down left, right and centre, there's abuse being thrown, you sort of lock it out with your headphones, but I was just smiling, like enjoying it. Then you get in and the singing starts, the stadium's amazing, the people know how to put it on over there, and the ABs won that night, so I mean, we sort of shut the crowd down a little bit, but it's a special place.
And what happens afterwards when the All Blacks win in London?
You soak in the updated baths, which are warm. Hot, colds, recovery. It's important. Juice, water, protein shakes, none of that other stuff.
Yeah, nice, guys. Well, that All Blacks match is kicking off at 3:30 a.m. next Sunday morning. It is going to be an incredible 3 weeks. England, Ireland, and then France. If you're to put your money where your mouth is, do the All Blacks win that test against England, Beef?
It's a yes from me.
How confident are you?
65% confident.
That's not...
It's strong confidence.
Is it strong?
Yeah, it's more than a flip of a coin for me. I think it's going to be a massive challenge, but they put their best foot forward. They will be too good, I reckon.
Yeah, I think we win. I think
Would we win well?
No, I think it'll be a tough game. It'll be close, but I think given what we've come through and now the expectation, I think we'll win.
Do we fix our issues with our bench?
I think we've fixed a lot of issues. I don't know what the selection is going to be like, but I think we start to really try and implement a lot of the things. Our game plan will hopefully come together this game and then lead on to the rest.
How do you think it plays out?
Classic forward fashion. I think forwards will be key to it. But I think it's obviously going to be an arm wrestle, but I think All Blacks 1-12, I'll back that. I think they'll get the dub and give them confidence moving on.
Okay, so a lot of confidence is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Plenty of
Oozing.
confidence, oozing with confidence. Well, look, I don't have a finish like my start, but great to have you two on the program with us and our regular. Millsy, you're always
reliable.
here.
He's
Reliable, holding down the
He's unreliable next week.
Thank you for joining us. We'll be back on The Breakdown next Sunday to do it all again.
Did you find this as a test match any harder than some of the district matches you've been playing?
Yes, test match is always just that little bit harder. I think everyone just gives that little bit extra.